So everyone, thank you all for attending our Real Talk Tuesday Black at 40 Ford event. So for more than a century, Ford has been a pioneer in providing opportunity to people regardless of race, gender, ability, sexual orientation, and background. We view this less with pride than the sober realization that we must go further to create a company where our differences are truly valued and every team member can bring their whole selves to work. Creating a culture of belonging isn't just the right thing to do, it's also the smart thing. Diversity breeds innovation, and the companies that attract the most talented and diverse workforce will succeed in our rapidly changing world. At Ford, we are family, we celebrate our differences, and we all belong. So, welcome to our event this evening, Real Talk Tuesday Black at Ford. We have created the Real Talk Tuesday series to give you an exclusive opportunity to hear from three of our current employees about their experiences working for Ford Motor Company through an identity based lens. Ford Motor Company believes in doing the right thing, and a part of that is welcoming employees to be their whole selves without judgment. So, to get things started, we are going to jump into our introductions. Panelists, thank you all for being here. I'm going to call on you all based on how the grids are set up. So, I'm going to start with you, Joseph. So, go ahead and feel free to introduce yourself to the folks this evening.
Hey, Robert, thanks for having me. Good evening or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joseph Petit-Homme. I am a systems and component engineer here at Ford Motor Company. I am about a week away from my 7-year anniversary. I can't believe it's been 7 years already. I hail from the greatest HBCU in the world, Florida Agricultural Mechanical University, FAMU. And I'm excited to be here to talk to you all about my experiences here at Ford. And I'm looking forward to hearing your questions, all you have, and we're going to give you all we can to field those questions. So thank you for having me, Robert.
Absolutely. We are glad that you are here. Our next panelist is Michelle. Michelle, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I am Michelle Harris. I currently am an IT business analyst for the Global Design Studio here at Ford. I attended the Southern University in A&M College because we are the best band in the land, best school, HBCU. So I just had to throw that in there. But no, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Rob, for inviting me to share with you all. So glad to be amongst everyone just to share my experiences at Ford. So welcome. And yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you for that. I may have to disagree. I didn't go to HBC, but I want to save some of that. But we do have another panelist. Beau, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Beau Beasley. I am the Twin Cities Regional Manager for Ford Credit. I did not go to HBCU, so I'll let Joseph and Michelle fight that out. I went to University of North Alabama in Florence, Alabama, originally from Kansas City, Missouri. And I started with the company in July of 2013 in the Tampa Business Center. So I just crossed 8 years in July. And similar to Joseph, it's been a whirlwind and went by very fast. So extremely honored and blessed to be a part of the panel group and with such esteemed colleagues. So Robert, thanks for joining. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to the discussion.
Absolutely. And thank you all for being here. I am really excited. Wanted to share with everyone, viewers, you all have submitted some amazing questions tonight. And we are so eager to have, this conversation and dialogue with you all about our experiences, or the panelists are about their experiences. So I am going to jump right into it, starting off with our first question. And this question is going to be, so do you see Black people in leadership positions in your skill team or employee resource group? If so, are they supportive? And we're going to kick this one off with Michelle.
Yeah, so yes, I do see Black people in leadership here at Ford. Um, one of the best things about Ford is our ERGs, and more in detail, Ford African American Ancestry. When I was interned at Ford, I jumped right into the fan group, and we were exposed so quickly to the leadership they had. So many African Americans who were supervisors, managers, level directors. And that was very encouraging to me, because when you join a company, you want to see people that look like you. So it was really great, and encouraging to see people, all different skill teams in leadership. So yes, we do have Black leadership here at Ford.
Absolutely, yes. Good answer. Lots of insight about you being connected early on, right? Even from your internship experience, being connected and exposed to those ERG spaces and Black leaders, right? So Beau, same question.
Absolutely, and kind of piggybacking off what Michelle said, I think it's important. It's we see it both in our leadership groups and also in our employee resource groups. And Michelle spoke about FAN, which I am wearing my FAN shirt today. Had to call that out as I am a member of FAN. But I think also in our other employee resource groups that don't tie to African ancestry alone, right? So Women at Ford and Next Gen and other employee resource groups. So I think that's why it's so key, as Michelle said, is you have that representation of people that look like you in those places, and it encourages you to not only want to succeed and continue with the company, but support those other resource groups in that manner as well. So I think that was the most encouraging part, not only in leadership, but seeing in other positions and in other resource groups beyond the one that tied to African Americans.
Awesome. Yeah, being able to connect with, you're right, we do have several employee resources group. We have, Ford African Ancestry, we have Globe, which is our LGBTQ, Women at Ford, so many, and being able to connect amongst the varying types of them is also a great resource. Awesome. Joseph, same question.
Yes. So we're gonna sound like a broken record, but FAN for African Ancestry Network is by far like one of the gems at Ford Motor Company. When I started, the first thing I did was get involved with the Ford African Ancestry Network, and to the point that some of my mentors soon became some of the executives in the company. Right. So when I first started, our vice president of quality was Mr. Benny Fowler, and he tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Hey, I like the way you present. Here are some things that you can do to make yourself a little bit more polished." And imagine being first year in the company, being invited to headquarters by the vice president, just to come into his office and him kind of give you the landscape and tell you how you can improve your communication skills was absolutely amazing, right? So fast forward that to getting to meet other vice presidents in the company, our outgoing chief technology officer, Dr. Ken Washington, black and fan in leadership. One of our chief engineers in systems engineering, Mr. Dante Crockett, also a black man. He pulls me in often, actually, to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to progress my career, and also give me opportunities to express myself in my community. And Ford is very community oriented, and FAN for African Ancestry Networks allows us to do that with our leaderships, elbow to elbow.
Awesome. Awesome. So you've gotten some exposure, you were able to report into and then be able to enhance your network with that. That is awesome. Awesome. So thank you for that. So going into our next question, once again, viewers, thank you all for submitting these questions. Um, Question number two. So wanted to just dive right into it. So how does Ford Motor Company empower you to bring your authentic self to work without feeling the need to code switch? And for our viewers, I really want to provide a definition of code switching. So code switching is being able to switch between dialects and cultural expressions, behaviors, and mannerisms based on one's surroundings. So once again, the question is, how does Ford Motor Company empower you to bring your authentic selves to work without feeling the need to code switch? Beau, we're going to start with you.
Great question, Robin. I really thought this question clearly came from a student, right? I think this is also like something that not only African Americans around, in Ford or someone. This is something that we deal with across the country, right? Like in every aspect that is outside of our cultural norms. And the way I feel empowered to do so is because, I had a manager at time really make it clear to me that it was okay where I was not from, whatever those experiences are, because that's who made me who I was. And it was very clear early on that the best version of me is me. It's not me trying to be someone else. It's not me trying to sound like someone else. It's not any of that. The best version of Beaumont is Beaumont, and it's Beaumont where he's from. It's Beaumont with the experiences he's been through that's made him. And I think, people feeling that way is a powerful feeling, and it allows you to really pour into yourself and then pour into people around you. Because I think the most important part about that is, it's such a great feeling that you want everyone else to feel that way, right? Your colleagues, your superiors, your peers, whoever that is, right, to feel that same way. So, that's the reason I really feel empowered. And then the code switching piece it just doesn't come into play, right? Because how I talk and how I come to things, and, Joseph used the word professional and polished, and that's the way I want to present myself regardless. And any expressions that I have or dialects that come along with that are second to me, right? Because it's simply just how they come off and who I am. And so I've always felt empowered to feel that way because, again, the best version of me is simply me and no one else, and me not trying to be anyone else.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, that is great. You are really that was great, Bo. I really appreciate that. I know our viewers appreciated that as well. Um, Joseph, same question.
Man, that's a tough act to follow because he's spot on, right? So, um, I have had the opportunity to excel in my career by just being myself, right? I don't pretend to be someone who doesn't belong. I don't pretend to be the person that I need to double, triple check my work to make sure that everything is perfect before anyone lays their eyes on it. Because engineering is about failing and failing fast, right? So if you need to find something out, being empowered to make those executive decisions on your own, present the information, and let your team know, hey, this is what I present. Most of the time, things go great. And times that things don't go great, there's a community of people around me that saying, okay, well, let's try this opportunity, let's try this avenue. So I'm really empowered because I'm able to be my own executive, right? Over what I own. I get to make decisions and I'm not second guessed by my managers or my chiefs. It's okay, Joseph, we give you the authority to make these decisions within your scope of ownership, right? So we don't need to second guess you. We don't need to call you every 5 minutes to make sure that you're in your meetings or you're responding to emails. I have a sense of ownership, and knowing that I have a team of people that trust me to do my job and do it effectively and always above reproach. I'm just empowered to be myself. I'm not going to pretend that there aren't moments where I would need to code switch. Right? Bo made a really great point about that's just a reality of fitting into a culture that doesn't always look like you. But I don't find myself making that's not a priority in my day-to-day work, or I need to code switch to be around people that I work with or even people that I don't work with. Or it is a very inclusive environment where you can be yourself 100% of the time and no one's really gonna treat you unfairly because of that.
Awesome. Awesome. Great insight. Um, Michelle, how about you?
Yeah, so they won the awards for best answer on that. So no, but yeah. So I mean, I emphasize everything that they said. Um, for me, when I first started at Ford, I remember being scared to speak up because I thought that if I said the wrong thing, they wouldn't say Michelle said the wrong thing. They would say that black girl said the wrong thing. And I was very apprehensive at first. I, didn't really say much, didn't really ask many questions. And I found that down the line, they wanted me to speak. They wanted me to talk. They wanted me to contribute. I'm part of a team. They want my input. They don't care if it's right or wrong. We all say things. Not everything we say is the correct thing. So just, in general, they just wanted me to contribute. And two, like it was said, I just need to be myself. and wherever that lands me, that will land me. But luckily with my team, they've been very supportive. So I've learned to kind of overcome that fear of, being that Black girl that says this or says that. It's like, it's whatever. I'm here to learn, I'm here to grow. If I say something that may not be the best, I learn from it. If I say something that's great, cool. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They've made it so welcoming and inclusive for me to where I haven't felt the need to sit there and be so hesitant anymore, to be fearful. Because how can I help succeed and do my job here at Ford if I'm too busy being scared, of what I'm gonna say, or taking opportunities. So yeah, that's basically it for me.
Oh my gosh, you all provided some great insight. Oh my gosh, noteworthy insight. I certainly appreciate that. So folks are messaging us saying, "I love it." So definitely, I really appreciate that. I'm looking at our next question. So this is going to be for Michelle and Joseph. So another question from our viewers. Um, and this is just coming from a place of being real and genuine concern about entering corporate America as a Black person. So how has Ford Motor Company shown support to you around natural hairstyles in the work environment? I'm going to start with you, Joseph, and I'm going to turn it over to Michelle.
Okay. So I'll be honest and say for the bulk of my career, I felt that I needed to be super clean cut, fresh haircut every week, just so I can fit into this professional environment. And you can probably see from my headshot on the flyer that I was clean cut. I've always been. Most people see me as that way. But I think I decided about a year and a half ago when COVID pretty actually happened that I wanted to just grow my hair and just see what does that look like. I'm still myself. I'm still the same smart, capable, competent engineer that I've always been. It's just that I present a little bit differently. I present the way God grows my hair on my head. And what I think the first time people saw me with hair, they were like, "This isn't the Joseph I know." Then I started speaking and go, "I sound like the same person." So look past the hair and just remember, I mean, I'm the same person. And I've never had any bad interaction with people. Actually, with the exception of people wanting to touch your hair, but that's a whole nother thing. Um, I haven't had any issues with feeling the need that I needed to now go back and cut my hair just so I can fit in because I still present the same way. Nothing's changed but the length of my hair.
Absolutely. And might I add, no, you cannot touch my hair. Michelle, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, so when I came into Ford, I was definitely rocking the natural fro, natural hair, but it was the summertime. So basically for me, I know that I didn't want to have my hair how it is now because it'll get ruined real quick, fast, in a hurry with this humidity. So I wanted to get braids. And I remember like just being like, oh, I don't know if I should, just my first introduction, it's just more so like wearing box braids because I wanted to have them long. Um, but I was like, you know what, whatever. Like I got the braids and I got a lot of compliments on my hair. And it wasn't a big deal. Like, you see people being their authentic self all over at Ford. So some people, that could be having tattoos, like a lot of tattoos. Some people it's their color of their hair, so it me having braids was not going to be the biggest thing in the world. So I felt really appreciative of that. And it wasn't like anyone was like, oh my gosh, like, what is that on your head? It was like, oh my gosh, you look good. Like, and I'm like, thank you. And then we went about our way. So, it was not a big deal at the end of the day. So yeah, I feel like they definitely have shown me a lot of support with rocking whatever type of hairstyle.
Awesome. Okay, so you can come with the box braids, you could come with your hair down, you can come with the fro.
Yes,
Okay, and they
exactly.
are, and in your experience, folks have been pretty accepting.
Yes, they
Yes.
have.
Okay, that is awesome. See, the folks wanted to know, well, we had to make sure we got that one answered for them. So definitely appreciate that. So going on to our next question. Did you have any preconceived thoughts on how you would be treated as a Black employee at Ford? If so, what was the reality once you started working in your role? I'm going to start off with Michelle for this one.
Yeah, so I kind of already touched on a few of kind of preconceived thoughts that I had going in, mainly the ones around just being kind of scared to say stuff because you don't want people to kind of like, say, oh, that girl, Um, but, overall, I just, I really just try to come in with a sense of eagerness to learn, eagerness to be confident in myself, and like I said, wherever that took me, that I would follow. Um, but yeah, so like the only thing I would say was, like I was saying before, I was very fearful to talk. But besides, I didn't really have many thoughts outside of that.
Okay, awesome. Beau?
Mine, I have a bit of example. So part of it was, when I started with the company and I started at the Tampa Business Center, I was in a program. And so I was in Tampa for about 3.5 years. So really kind of, went through a rotational program and kind of learned the ropes. And I'd say, when I had started in a role where I went and serviced the dealers, right? Like that was a different aspect, because the big piece of Ford, right, is our dealer body and how they represent us in servicing our customers from a sales and service perspective. And so it was a little bit different for me, because I was going to a space to where I wasn't going to be around my colleagues every day. I was going to be working, from home, traveling to a dealer body where these are, franchise dealers that are independently owned and operated. And how was I going to be perceived walking in as an African American into their place of business, and what that was going to be like. And so there was some concern that I may have had as to where, I may not walk into the store and no one looks like me. And so the reality, kind of answer to your question, the reality when I started working in that role was, the dealers were just as accepting as a lot of the employees at times, and really maybe even more, as they were just looking for help, or are happy to see someone coming in and helping them and servicing them in that manner. And so, some of my preconceived thoughts, even to the dealer body, just because, not because of who they may be, is simply kind of that unknown of, you don't know them, right? And I think that's what we kind of face going into all of these situations while we're having these discussions, is you don't know what you don't know. And so I walked into a dealer as a BDM with a long beard and a shaved head, and didn't know how that would be perceived. And I'm happy to say that, I have lifelong friends as dealers, right, from working with them in time frames, whether that's from where I started in the dealer body in Pensacola, or Atlanta, or now here in Minneapolis. I would say lifelong friends and relationships I got to build through the company, and extremely blessed for it. So there have been some preconceived thoughts of how I may have been perceived, and there's been overwhelming examples of where those preconceived notions have been battered away by the reality that people have been just as accepting to me as I feel like they would have been anyone else.
Okay, like that. Lots of support. I like that. Lots of networking, lots of um, acceptance in there. So I think that is very important. Joseph, how about you?
Um, so for me, my first thought about Ford, it really came from the way I was introduced to Ford. So of course I went to Florida A&M University. Um, Ford is a partner. Well, FAMU is a partner premier school for Ford. So we go down annually to recruit to the university. So I see Ford all the time, right? Once a semester, either doing senior design projects or either actively recruiting. So my first interaction with Ford, I've always seen myself, right? I've always seen Black employees coming down, introducing themselves, telling me about their experiences at Ford. So I didn't think about what Ford will look like with me included in it, because I've already saw, okay, Ford is great. I mean, it's at my university all the time, and I see the people look like me. So I knew there was already going to be an atmosphere of acceptance for however I present myself in the company, just because of the representatives that they have on the front lines showing us you fit in, right? So seeing that team coming down to recruit me was enough for me to know that I wouldn't have to have any ill thoughts working at Ford. And it doesn't help that Ford is in Detroit, right? So every everyone looks like me in Detroit, so I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. And then Michelle, would you like to add something?
Yeah, Joseph brought up a really great point, and I reflect quickly. I think that's part of the reason why I also did not come have a lot of just thoughts was because um they also did the same thing. They came down to Southern, and the two people that interviewed me were both Black. So for me, I'm already seeing what's there at Ford. And, so that gave me the confidence in being comfortable already. So by the time I got there, I didn't really care as much because I already saw myself and I knew that we were there. And furthermore that we were out here striving, and they're recruiting people. So yeah, that was a very good point that Joseph brought. As to probably why I wasn't as hesitant.
Awesome. I like that. So, and then, once you got here, you were able to, see the folks who recruited you. You were able to see the employer resource groups, a broader network. What you say? You say they were out here striving, right? You were able to see a broader network of folks who were out here striving, right? So that's awesome. I'm going to go into our next question. So we are about wrapping up with our viewer submitted questions, but we have a couple more. I think these are some of the most important ones. The question I want to ask is, could you all talk about a moment when you felt like you truly belonged and valued as a Black member of the team, or as a Black team member? I'm going to start us off with Joseph, Michelle, and then we're going to end with Beau.
Okay. I think there are probably countless of experiences. I can think of one recently when the earthquake hit Haiti, and some of my team members. I was working in Mexico on an assignment, and I had team members reaching out to me saying, "How's your family? Are you okay? Do you need anything?" That kind of those small things are really important. So I felt value there. Or I can think of having working internationally for a year in Mexico, knowing that my leadership team, they really trust me to do not only a great job, but to represent our entire organization for the launch of a new vehicle. But something that's probably the most impactful to me, where I knew that I truly belonged and I was valued as what I did, not just in my role as an engineer, but also what I do in the community, is when I was selected for Ford 30 Under 30, which is a program where Ford selects 30 young professionals that are really doing really good in their career, but have a passion for community service and community engagement. So every year, Ford selects a cohort of individuals from Canada, from the US, from Mexico, and they target areas of the community where Ford can be most valuable, right? So in terms of mobility, ideating on solutions of mobility in urban communities and rural communities, tackling the topic of homelessness and what can we do as a larger community, not just a Black community, to address homelessness in the nation, and even food insecurity, right? So what resources do we have at our disposal where we can combat food insecurity? So that was like a perfect yin and a yang mesh for me, right? Because if people know me outside of Ford, they know I'm really active in the community, active in my fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma, and everything I do is for us, right? So being able to bring my full self, and it gets back to the question we had earlier about bringing your full self, and then the company recognizing, saying, "Hey, we need you to be an ambassador for us as we go out into community, not just sell cars, right? I mean, granted, that's our business model, but we're also in the business of moving people, and it doesn't just mean putting them behind our vehicles and taking them someplace, but giving them solutions and helping them really have a full and well experience of life. And Ford is really dedicated to that, and they give us the opportunity to do that. So that was probably my biggest piece where I truly felt belong.
Awesome. That is awesome. Great exposure with the 30 under 30. Really awesome, being able to give back with the community service. I know Ford really has a passion of that. So I really appreciated you sharing that. I appreciated all of that except for, you had to throw in Phi Beta Sigma. You could have left that out.
You have to. You have to.
But
No,
you
you
had
don't.
to throw
No,
that
you don't.
in.
You bring your whole self. You remember we said that?
So Michelle, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Yeah, so I've always felt like I've been valued as a member of not only my team, but at Ford. And really where I felt like I really truly belonged, I have to take it back to when George Floyd, the situation with them last year. Um, you know, our community was hurting a lot. There was a lot going on, and I was very curious to see how Ford was going to respond, about it, how what my team was going to say about it. And we just so happened to have had the next day after it came out, a team meeting, just a general to go over, what we're doing for the week. And we do have a segment where we just talk about feelings and thoughts. And I remember I purposely stayed silent because I wanted to see if my team members were going to say something first, because they knew I was going to say something. I was the only Black person on my team at the time. So they knew for me, expected. So I didn't want to just jump the gun and be that person just to do it. I was like, do they truly care enough to even bring this to, to address it and not to kind of brush it under the rug? And one by one, they brought it to the table without me saying. I actually ended up going last in that team meeting, and that warmed my heart because that showed me they're not just trying to just always make it about business. That they're not afraid to address what's going on in the real world. Because it was so hard to, not ignore it. So I felt like they did a great job. And not only, when I spoke, they listened. They didn't try and, hit me with that, I understand, I've had this scenario happen, they just listened and they allowed me to speak, about it. And then after that, I had follow-up meetings with higher executives at Ford about just being Black at Ford and ways that, they can help ease some of that and make it more comfortable for us. So yeah, that experience alone made me feel very important and valued at Ford.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know you got it's a comment in the chat. Someone said I like the approach that you took with that situation. So absolutely. Bo.
So I've got a similar, like kind of what Michelle kind of spoke to. I like what she said regarding like always felt kind of valued, and I think that what I think of that is I've always felt like my work was valued, right? Like the things that I was bringing to the table, like that's always been valued and respected, regardless of who was doing that. But I think certainly the George Floyd piece, and she touched on it. We had the amount of dialogue that we had around that was surprising, and I think she touched on a key piece of that aspect was listening. I think a lot of times in those situations, to truly attempt to understand, there has to be more listening than talking in those situations, and I think the company showed that. And I want to touch on another clear piece of that is how our leadership um, really spoke up in those situations as far as listening and showing the importance. And there's been plenty of examples throughout, time that align with African Americans or different ethnicities or even not even ethnicity aligned, right? Other examples of that. And so I really appreciate the way our leadership approaches it. And but the one big example I've had is we do have what we call this week of belonging in the company, where this day of understanding, I think it's a week of understanding what they did, where they had a lot of discussions around different topics, and different groups of people could jump into different rooms, and it's a really great week that we have, and the culture team that puts that on and does a fantastic job. But there was one example of a room that I was in, and there was some executive leaders in the room, and one of them happened to be my direct supervisor. One of them happened to be my direct supervisor, and so there was some dialogue that was happening, and of course I was speaking, and others that were speaking in the room, and he just listened. He just listened the entire time listened, and made sure to follow with me after, to make sure that he said, "Hey, I can't fully grasp all those concepts, but anytime you want someone just to listen, I can listen." And so that really went a long way for me, because it meant someone was just there to listen and attempt to understand. And so I think that there are examples throughout the company that We've got people that do that and examples of it, but that was probably the big one where and not to say I had probably only been working for him for a few months, right? So imagine that fear of concern of your new boss walking into the room, hearing you talk about these things that they may not be aware of. So that's probably the opportunity where I really looked in and said, I think I'm working at the right place. I think I'm working at the right place.
Absolutely. I think you all touched on some great points. I think that just thinking about, George Floyd and how that impacted the nation, and Ford was able to how Ford was able to react to that. So I'm thinking about the creation of our racial equity director, Ms. Angela Henderson. That was a result of that, right? So being able to, see this need, but then to be able to put some things in action so that we have support as, racial minorities, some extra support. So I think that that was a huge step for Ford, and a way that or speaks to them, just trying to be innovative and being thoughtful, honestly, being thoughtful about the ways in which folks who are racially minoritized are feeling here, and attempting to get better. So certainly appreciate you all speaking to that. Our last question is, what sort of advice might you give to Black students who are on the fence about applying? We're going to go in reverse order. I'm going to start with you, Beau.
Yeah, so hopefully this video helps out with that, right? Number one, that's the number one goal there, is we want everyone to feel like they can work it forward and be included. The advice I'd probably give is, and to any students, but specifically the Black students, would be, figure out those things that are important to you. Figure out those things that are maybe not important to you, and probably the big thing, figure out those things that you cannot compromise on, and don't compromise on them at any point in time. It's important that we want people for this to be their choice to work for the company, and we want people to feel valued in working here, and I think that starts with people understanding those things that are important to them, because we didn't get to a lot of these initiatives you spoke to, Robert, and leadership without hearing that from someone, right? We talked about like how leadership has representation and things like that takes time, and that takes for people to listen and speak up and talk about those things. So that would be my advice. Figure out those things that are important to you, and that you can't compromise on, and don't. And I my belief is that the company can provide the things that you're looking for to really help you feel valued and a valued member of the team, of a global team, right? Not just a small. And that's why I think it's so important, because, and I've said this before, I think the term family is kind of overstated in corporate America, right? It can really be kind of overused at times. But I wouldn't be stepping out of bounds if I felt like, the company has provided that for me a lot. I've built some lifelong relationships with people that I couldn't imagine doing before. So, that would be my short advice.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. Michelle.
Yeah, so I say if you're on the fence about applying, to do it, apply. You never know what can happen. You never know what this forward road could take you. So don't potentially block your blessing. Being a part of the Ford family. There are so many opportunities here at Ford, and especially coming out of college, we have the Ford College Graduate Program, which is a really great program for those who don't know exactly what they want to do, but get the chance to explore different options within Ford. And even our internships are really great. There's just so many. You have mentors here. There are the ERGs here. There's a lot of fun events that they have here to be a part of, but also with the diversity aspect, kind of like what Beau was saying. Diversity doesn't happen overnight. You know, it takes time. And if you want to see change, you have to be the change. So, you know, that's why we need more people. We need more, you know, people to be a part so that we can continue to progress and move forward. So I definitely say please apply. You know, not no company is perfect. You know, every company has, you know, deals with their own little things, but overall I would just say I can't speak enough good things about Ford. It's been really great. So yeah, I definitely say apply.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Joseph.
Man, so I don't know. Working here at Ford has been a life change for me, right? So I'm a Florida boy, born and raised, and so imagine me moving to Michigan where it snows. I've never seen snow before until I moved here. And I was like, nope, I'm going to be there 2 years, 3 years tops. I'm going back to Florida. I need the beach in my life. And now I just told you earlier that I've been here almost 7 years as of next week. Bo tapped on it, and he said it quite well, and so did Michelle. But Ford is a family, right? And you find community here. So and he spoke about diversity. Diversity is nothing without equity and inclusion, right? So we often forget to talk about the inclusion piece, right? And the equity that you get from being involved and not only having a seat at the table, but having a voice when you're at that table and everyone listening to what you have to input into the dialogue and conversation. Um, you have that here at Ford, and that's something that I valued, and it was something that I didn't know that I needed. I didn't know that I needed to have a place, a career for my a place for my career where I can feel all those things, where I can be empowered to speak my mind, whether my leadership team likes it or not. Right? Like even those opportunities where like you're going against the grain because you're convicted and I think this is the right answer and we're doing this the wrong way and going into those skip level meetings and telling people exactly how you feel and them listening to you say, you know what, maybe we need to take a step back and evaluate why you're so passionate about this is the right answer. And then open to the dialogue. But something that wasn't mentioned here, but the pay is competitive. I'm not going to pretend that I didn't come here because Ford offered me a check, right? I had other offers when I graduated. I could have went to other companies in the South, but when the Ford offer came in, I was like, unless y'all trying to match me, I'm going to Michigan and I'm getting a coat when I get up there because they're paying me to get a coat. So it's well rounded, right? You can come for the inclusion or you can come for the check, and then you can find the inclusion when you get here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate that insight. And you came up here and got you a coat, huh? Um,
It's sweater weather
I
already.
I appreciate that. Look, you all, I am so glad that we were able to have this conversation today. Um, Panelists, thank you, thank you, thank you. Attendees, students, thank you all for submitting some great questions. I think you all asked what a lot of folks were thinking. And panelists, thank you all for being brave and authentic enough to, share your experiences and, most importantly, answer the students' questions. So I certainly appreciate that. Really quick before we go, I wanted to show you all how to apply to our different positions. I see that question is going on in the chat. And I really wanted to utilize this space to walk you all through that. So I'm going to initiate a screen share just to kind of show you all that because that question has came up a lot. I wanted to use the space to do so. So this is the careers.ford.com website. When you all are at the careers.ford.com website, what you can do is you will scroll down and select job opportunities. Once you are here, you are going to select student. And then you are going to view available jobs. At that point, you will see our Ford College graduate positions. And those positions are typically for folks who are graduating in this season, graduating May of 2022. And wanting to start in September, but also folks who have 0 to 3 years of experience. Those are our Ford College graduate positions. We also have our internship positions as well. I always advise folks to look at the requisition that you're interested in and look and see what the requirements are, right? Because some of those some of those positions do accept sophomores. Some of those positions do accept, MBA students. So things like that. So really pay close attention to what the requirements are, and apply. That's always really huge. I know that folks that are here with us today have engaged with me. So once you apply, let me know. So shoot me a message back on Handshake. I know some of you all are connected with Beau and Michelle. Feel free to engage them as well via Handshake. But let us know so that we can have a conversation. Maybe get you exposed to some different folks to kind of, hey Rob, what is this experience like in product development? Hey Rob, what is this experience like as a software engineer? Or what is this like working in finance, right? Getting you exposed to those right folks. So certainly take advantage of that, and just let us know when you all apply to those positions. But without further ado, I want to thank you all for coming. And if we don't have anything to add,
Hey,
we will
Robert,
see you
yeah,
all.
I definitely want to add one thing. So I'm on
Absolutely.
LinkedIn, right? If you have any questions, and I did see a few questions in the chat that were directed towards me, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I am an open book. I can tell you all about what I do. And if I don't work in the area that you're interested in, I know a lot of people all over the company, so I can connect you to those people as well, and they'll be happy to share their experience as well. So Joseph Petit-Homme on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect
Same.
with me.
Michelle Harris on LinkedIn. Feel free to add me.
Couldn't agree more. Beau Beasley on LinkedIn, and looking forward to conversing with all the prospective students. Looking forward to
Now it's conversating. Bring your full self.
it.
Joseph is about this full self today. Bring your full self.
See,
Bring
there's a
your full
difference
self.
between full self and correct vocabulary.
Oh no, because you can use African American vernacular English. That is
Yeah.
correct
I'm
vocabulary.
not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying I can use both. How about that?
Yes, bilingual. Yes, yes. So we once
I
again,
love
so
it.
this banter, we're just joking around. Uh,
You see how we
but
were
we
welcoming to
absolutely
that though?
yes. So once again, thank you all. Thank you all again for coming, and thank you all for engaging in this space. And you all have a good day. Nia, I'm going to send you a message privately. But you all have a good day. Thank
Have a
you.
good
Thanks,
one. Thanks all.
guys.
Thank you, everyone. Stay well. And FAMU is the best HBCU,
It's
just
not
in
the
case
Southern
you need that
University.
reminder.
Thank you. Best band in the land.
Whoa, see, we could, no, those are fighting words. Those are fighting words. We'll talk
They
offline
are
about that. We'll talk about
offline.
that
What's happening
offline.
offline? Yeah.